What's up, YouTube? How y'all doing? I'm gonna give y'all my thoughts on the DNF Duel beta. I'm not gonna talk about the lobby. Just fix it, makes it more consistent, and be able to invite your friends. I had some other things that were on my mind, and I'm going from least concerning to most concerning, but I do have some positives sprinkled in. And also, I switched editing software, so things are gonna look messy. And I'm gonna say I don't think the visuals are the most important thing in this video. I would say just listen to what I'm saying, so you kind of don't have to look at it. You can kind of have it played in the background. So I appreciate y'all for listening in, and let's listen to what a no-name YouTuber has to talk about on DNF Duel. Training mode controversy. I think that the game not having a training mode is tragic. And they have some people that are fine with it not being there because they say, oh, the purpose is to stress test the servers. Well, if you want to stress test the servers, why don't you make it like Guilty Gear Strive, where you had to at least get online in order to even have access to the training mode? The reason why this is such a big deal is because when you don't have a basic thing such as tutorial or training mode, you add unnecessary frustration to the already frustrating beta experience, because people will try to go inside matches to figure these things out, only to be greeted with an uncooperative opponent and several network disconnections because it's a beta, which isn't something that's fun to go through. Because here's the reality: nobody really participates in a beta for a game they are not interested in. People only participate in betas into games that they think look cool and that they could potentially have fun in, which means that it is self-motivated, which means in the heart of every beta tester, there's the question: is this game worth my $60? And if that answer is no, you will not see these people pay for the game at its official release. So as a dev, you should want to give people as few excuses as possible as to why they're going to drop your game. You want people to put the game down because they did not like it. You don't want people to put the game down simply because it was too frustrating to learn it, to deal with it in the first place. All right, now we're going to get into what the game actually is and the gameplay side of things when you're playing it. And I have some positives and I have some negatives. But first things first, let's start off with the positives. Number one, I think that this game is well designed, and I think it accomplishes what it sets out to do. I think this game is going for a more casual base, and I think it's done it very well, because there is no excuse of an execution barrier holding you back in this game, because everything is so accessible to do. And yeah, there are motion inputs, and they only affect how fast you gain your MP back, and they aren't hard to do because it's only relegated to quarter circle forward and DP inputs. So basically, I think this is the arena fighter for fighting games, essentially, which is not a bad thing. My second positive is that all the characters play differently and are unique from one another. Now, I know you've heard this compliment everywhere, but it really is true for this game. So even though there is simplicity in how it controls, there is a difference. Even characters that are in the same archetype play differently from one another, which is one such as Ranger and Vanguard. While Ranger can go for various setups using grenade and being flashy while doing it, Vanguard wants to more so break your guard by repeating the same zoning situations over and over and over again. Because everybody is so unique, I don't think it's going to be very hard for a new player to try and figure out what character appeals to them. Now, here are some potential negatives. So I would say if you've played plenty of fighting games and you're looking for something that's more technical, this is not the game. Point blank and period. This game is very simple. To give you an example, let's look at the most complex mechanic that this game has to offer, and that is convergence. By pressing B plus skill, you can sacrifice any white health that you have accrued in order to do a rapid cancel like BlazBlue and cancel any action that you've done, even actions on whiff, right? Which makes it a pretty unique mechanic. The problem with it is it has very limited use. For number one, it requires you to be losing in order to obtain it because it comes from white health, which you get from taking damage. But you can't take too much damage to where your opponent gets a full combo and will inevitably end up locking in their damage by doing an MP move, which means you only be seeing it realistically to where you lose neutral interactions, because as the game evolves, people will be locking in their damage because they don't want to give you access to it. And even if they do give you access to convergence, you don't want to do it when you have a lot of white health because you'll never regain that HP back. So you only want to do it when you have a little amount of white health, so that way, you know, you sacrifice a little bit of regeneration. I like what they're trying to do with it, but they should make a system to where either you halt your HP regeneration by the press of a button, or you can sacrifice wild health and store a convergence in order to use it later, because I think that will add enough spice to the game to keep it still very simple, but add a little bit of flavor to it. Because as the game is right now, you're just relying on your character's tools, and there's not a lot of opportunities to mix things up. Like, imagine Strive without Roman cancel. It wouldn't feel as great. It would still be a good game, but you just know it could be more. Because the thing about DNF Duel is that it lacks a lot of things that fighting games have, such as overheads, push blocking, side switch mix-ups, bursting, double jump, super jump. And things like this can seem confusing to people, because in this game you'll see characters doing these crazy moves and you expect to go crazy, but in reality you're still feeling very grounded. And I think it's too late to say, oh, the game should add overheads. Oh, the game should add anti-airs. Oh, the game should, do all these other type of things and add an air dash, because these things change the game fundamentally, and the game is going to come out in 2 months. The only realistic change I see is them changing convergence to where you can store it. And because there isn't a lot of freedom in this game's mechanics, I think character strength is going to be very important. Because the game is so simple to play, there doesn't leave a lot of room for people to finesse each other. Remember, in Tekken 7, which is one of the most complex fighting games ever, Ranchu, the panda, beat Deviljin, and during that time, I think Deviljin was considered to be the best character, and the panda was considered to be one of the worst characters. You can only have upsets to where low tiers beat high tiers when the game is complex enough. Because one of the reasons why people say that Panda beat Deviljin was because nobody understood Panda, and he's a very weird character. He was bad, but he was still very weird, which means you still had to practice against him somewhat. But in simple games where everything is outlined for you, you don't really have to practice against a low tier because you already understand them, which means that they're already bad without you having to spend the time to make them bad. Now, I could explain this more, but I feel like I'll be taken away from DNF. But I'll basically say this: all the depth in this game so far is character driven. There's nothing mechanically wise that can give a low tier wiggle room to finesse somebody consistently. Now, if you didn't know, they released on Twitter a survey and they asked about character balance. So here's what I think about the future of DNF. I think range will be everything in the game, because zoning is king. Because in this game, movement feels a little bit slow, but it seems like there's a running startup and there's a running recovery. And so I think characters who have range can control the space easier and get to where they want to go. And even if you do get in on the zoner, you can only do stagger pressure or strike throw mix-ups. And if you throw the opponent, they're knocked full screen, which will not only allow them to resume zoning, but you also gave them convergence while doing it. And even if you throw them in the corner, there's enough space or wiggle room for them to finesse you in order for them to potentially get out. Basically what I'm saying is, whoever has the strongest neutral tools in the game win, because almost everything outside of neutral seems a little bit weaker, such as pressure. Even dash blocking seems a little bit weaker. Now, I know there's an issue on defense to where some characters have hold moves, like Inquisitor's Wheel, can hold you in place and then guard break you and stay outside of your range, so there isn't really much that you can do about it. Now, I think this will be fixed by lowering how much guard point damage the wheel will do, but if they don't do that and they just lower how much it takes to do a guard cancel, then I can see zoners becoming a lot more stronger. But this leads me to my next point. One question in that survey caught my attention, and they said, who did I think is the strongest character right now? And I think the strongest character, without a shadow of a doubt, is Berserker. But wait, didn't you just say that range is everything and that zoning is king? Trust me, just hear me out. Remember when we said that Inquisitor can spam Flame Wheel until your guard is broken? Well, that is only possible because her HP was low. Because the lower your HP, the more MP you have. And she can only do that guard break when she has 180 to 200 MP. Well, Berserker can lower his HP at will and use conversion at will because of it, which means Berserker has access to unique mix-ups and combos that nobody else can do in the game. Berserker can kill you if he has 70% HP, and if you have 70% HP, you die. For anybody to do a 70% damage combo in the game, they had to be low HP. But because Zerker can lower his HP, he can end you with him having that much of a high HP. And because he can do convergence at will, he can do a lot of conversion high-low mix-up on your wake-up. Even though he's not technically a zoner, he only has blood cross, which is okay. But because he has access to mechanics that nobody else has, he's the #1 character. Now, the only thing I can see him struggling with is a bit in neutral. So what if he does blood cross and then immediately presses convergence, running behind the blood cross to get in on his opponent? I want to see how that will work. I thought about this after the beta, so I'm not sure how good that is. But if that is very good and he can at least get his opponent blocking, he is going to be very, very, very scary. But we're going to see. The game can change in 2 months and whatever. But that is literally my theory. But as of right now, you can still argue with me and say that it's too early to tell, and I understand. I went through a lot of matches, but the quality of those matches could be in question because, you know, not everybody has figured out everything yet. I'm just trying to answer the devs' questions on what I think is the strongest and who I think is the strongest character right now. So I'll end on this note. I think that this game is going to be very fun and very fun for newbies and people that just want to play a fighting game and relax and have a good time. I think this is going to be that kind of game for me. I'll probably go hard on it in the beginning, but as the game ages, I see myself just getting on this to relax because that's what I do for arena fighters. I hop on them to relax. I don't really take them too seriously. I don't think I'll go too hard on this game. I will buy it because I love DFO. I love seeing these characters. I love playing the game. It's just that I had questions in terms of longevity and for the complexity if people were really going to go hard on this fighting game. But I'm interested in to be proven wrong. And if you have a counter, just put it down in the comment section. I think it'd be great for me to see what other people are thinking. And with that being said, people, we are about to head out.